Welcome into a brand new Patriots Hub podcast. Alex, Barth, Matt Dolloff with you from 98.5 thesportshub.com. Week 5 preview, Patriots, Bills, Dolloff. And I want to pick this one up where we left off our recap show on Monday. Obviously, we don't have the answer yet, but we kind of ran through this as we were wrapping up the show. And as the week's gone on, I think it's a more interesting topic the more I've thought about it. Yes. Which is the Patriots just blew out the Panthers. And it feels like a high watermark for where they've been for a while. And it should. Like, they haven't convincingly beat, even their wins last year were close. Like, they haven't really convincingly beat anybody in a couple of years. And so I do think that, Patriots fans, that's something to enjoy. That's something to celebrate as they work their way back. Obviously, it's not the be all end all. Nobody's hanging a banner, throwing a parade, but like, nice little win. And it's been a while since we could say that. Now, though, like, the Panthers are the Panthers. And you can say everything I just said, and I think at the same time acknowledge this is very much a lesser opponent. That is not the standard of the team you're going to need to beat to get where you want to go. Now they're going to the other end of the spectrum. On the road, so you go from 1 o'clock, Panthers at home, on the road, prime time, the Buffalo Bills, who might be the best team in the AFC, one of only 2 unbeaten teams left in the NFL, along with the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. It's a polar opposite matchup. And I'm not picking the, spoiler alert, I'm not picking the Patriots in this one. I think it's going to be closer than some people may think. And we can get into that in a little bit. But it's just a really good barometer to go from that Panthers game, where I think the Patriots checked the majority of the boxes they needed to check, to this Bills game. And who are they closer to? Because the last 2 years, they've been closer to, if not at, where the Panthers are. And I don't think that there's much argument there. Nobody's expecting them to pass the Bills this year. There'd be an unfair expectation. Year 1 head coach, overturn half the roster. Like, it's too much. But are they closer to that end of things now than where they've been the last few years? And that's a big picture, 50,000 feet take. I don't know exactly how you would qualify that, but like, that's the thing I'm most interested in going into this game, and we'll be coming out of this game as we get into next week, is where does this Patriots team really stand? How much ground have they really gained since last year?
Yeah, sure. That win last week, Barth, at least tells us that they're capable of, beating up on a bad team. They're capable of showing they are superior to a team like the Carolina Panthers. And it's a sign that progress is being made, right? Like, especially Drake Maye, the way he's playing overall. It feels like there's a lot of progress there. And he's starting to get more comfortable with Josh McDaniels. They're starting to get more comfortable with each other. Maybe still questions about the pass catchers, how that's going to shake out over the rest of the season. There's still questions about the defense. They haven't been perfect through 4 games. But we at least know that they're capable of showing that they are clearly the superior team to a team like the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. They've hopefully climbed out of that, basement of the NFL where they've been for the better part of a couple of years. But how much progress have they made, right? Like, how much closer are they to the upper echelon of the league? And like, nobody's going to argue that they're anywhere close to the Bills. I think even if the Patriots pulled off an upset win here, I'm sure some people would go nuts, but I don't know that we necessarily say that they're that close to the team on the level of the Bills that the Bills are at right now. Like, they feel like a Super Bowl favorite, if not, at least a top Super Bowl contender in the league. Can the Patriots hang around? Can they make it interesting? Can they not embarrass themselves? Can they show up and have a decent game plan? Can Drake Maye make some plays? Can they avoid turnovers, especially the nature of the turnovers that we saw in the Buffalo game last year? Which, by the way, was Drake Maye. It was Ramondre Stevenson, and on that bad fumble they had like in front of their own goal line.
Yeah, it was more of like a backwards pass than a fumble. Just
right. It was a poorly weird play.
Pass.
Weird play, bad play call. It was like a lot of blame to go around on that play. If they can avoid that stuff, and if they can move the ball a little bit more than, at least around the level that they've done it at the last couple games here, and they can hang around and make it an interesting game, we can at least come out of that game saying, okay, they're not the Bills, but are they the next, second or third tier down? Or are they actually in that mix in the American or the AFC, I should say? I got baseball on the brain with the Red Sox coming up.
Understandable.
The American Football Conference might have, an interesting team in the Patriots if they could just hang around and show that they can get the quarterback play and just the reasonably clean level of football that they can hang around with a good team like the Bills. And I think that's going to be an interesting litmus test for them.
I'll throw out a comp that this is maybe a niche reference, but some people will get. You're familiar with Big Cat from Barstool, right? I would hope.
Never heard of him.
So he does the very scientific,
Cat.
I do too, the very scientific computer power rankings every week for the NFL. If people know what I'm talking about, you'll get this reference. So he always has a couple teams that like aren't good but kind of beat. Will every once in a while pop up as frisky and fun. And then he has another category that's frisky and boring. Like this week could show if the Patriots are frisky and fun at the very least.
Is that Don't Look Now, or like that team? Do they have a Don't Look Now team?
They are probably a couple weeks away from Don't Look Now, but they can definitely get into frisky and fun.
I was gonna say the Patriots might be Don't Look Now right now, where it's like Don't Look Now, but the Patriots are starting to come on.
If they beat the Bills, they're Don't Look Now. If they lose to the Bills close, I think they're frisky but fun.
That makes sense.
Big Cat, if you listen, if we could get some clarity, that would be great. Although I know it's the computer. He doesn't know it's the computer. But all right, what do the Patriots have to do to make this close and show they're closer to the Bills and the Panthers and show that they're frisky and fun and maybe are a Don't Look Now team? Like, what do they have to do? Let's start on offense. I'm very intrigued by Drake Maye going into this game because the game in Buffalo last year was one of his better games his rookie year. He threw over 260 yards, a couple touchdowns. Remember, he hit that deep one to Kayshon Boutte up the sideline.
That was arguably his best throw of the whole season.
That's right.
Kayshon Boutte.
They were up 14-0 before the wheels fell off, and he goes in now with another year of experience, better team around him, better coaching staff. Like one thing I don't worry about is this moment being too big for him. And look, second-year quarterback, it's maybe like, all right, we should know at this point. He didn't play any primetime games last year. Their only primetime game, I guess technically he played in that Thursday night game. That game was over. The Thursday night game that Jacoby Brissett started. They didn't have a primetime game the rest of the way, right? They were all 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
That Bills game, that might have been like a 4 o'clock game.
It was randomly like a 4 o'clock game, but it wasn't like prime time.
Right.
So this is really Drake Maye's first true primetime start. Not worried about the moment being too big for him or anything like that. I'm excited to see what he can do in this game. If he could pick up kind of where he left off last year, he's coming off a good performance last week. Is he going to out-duel Josh Allen? I don't know. Probably not. But if they are going to win this game or they're going to keep it close, they're not going to do that scoring 21 points. Like they're going to have to score, and he's going to have to an extent, go punch for punch. Let's see it. Like, let's see. Last year, because Allen didn't play well in the game last year. So it was kind of that, but not really. Allen's rolling right now. It's early season Josh Allen. It's not cold yet. Let's see how much Drake Maye can go punch for punch with Josh Allen.
Yeah, look, I expect Josh Allen to move the ball. I expect them to score 30 points.
He only threw, I think, just for reference, I think he only threw, I'll pull it up. I'm pretty sure he only threw for 161 yards in that game last year. Now, he ran for a good amount, and they ran big picture on the Patriots. Here it is. Hang on. So Allen last year in the matchup, which was really their only real matchup because the last game of the year was the last game of the year. Allen was 16-29 for 154 yards, 1 touchdown, and he had that arm punt interception, and he ran 6 for 30. That's actually exactly what Drake Maye did. So you could argue Drake Maye was the better quarterback in that game, but they were not really going out. James Cook ran the ball 11 times for 100 yards. Like, that's just the kind of game it was.
What the hell? I mean, what plays did they run? I think they had short fields. Like
dive.
Yeah, right. Like they ran it 10 times, they threw it 20 times, and then they just punted every other 10. They're just like, yeah, we'll give them a chance. We'll let the Patriots take a shot here. No, yeah. Look, I expect.
This. They actually didn't have that many short fields. They started at their own 32, own 30, 32, 20, 32. Once on the New England side of the field, they got a field goal, their own 20, their own 9, and then the kneel down at the end of the game started over midfield because the Patriots went for it.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, I mean, look, I guess I expect Josh Allen to be efficient because that's what he's been this year. He's only thrown 1 interception. So, I mean, like he's been even more impressive than usual. Like you wonder what could happen if he actually like truly puts it all together. He's got the big plays, the talent, and then he's also playing just a ruthlessly efficient style of football. It feels like that's what he's been doing so far this year. So I expect him to get his, the Patriots' best hope might be to, get immediate pressure up the middle and Milton Williams is beating guys with the very first step. And Josh Allen can't even get out of the pocket because Milton Williams is right there to bring him down. I feel like that's their best hope. And I wouldn't even say give him the run, Josh Allen, necessarily, but if you can just try your best to take away the big plays, maybe sell out to take that stuff away and just make them earn every play. And so I think that should be the planning as Josh Allen. But for Drake Maye, this game honestly does come down to Drake Maye for me. And if you want to take it another step further, it comes down to just protecting Drake Maye. And I'm not saying for the Patriots to win. I'm saying for the Patriots to be competitive in the game.
Yeah.
Be clear, for them to really have a chance, it's got to be Drake Maye, not necessarily going toe-to-toe with Josh Allen, because I think the Patriots could potentially run the ball in this game. But they're going to need Drake Maye to come through. In at least a handful of key situations. It's probably going to be, if it's going to be competitive, it's going to be competitive in the fourth quarter. And we might finally get these moments that we've been waiting for Drake Maye to, end of the game, critical situation, ball in your hands. It's a close game. How do you do? We haven't seen a ton of that this year. But yeah, I agree with you, Barty, that I don't think the moment's too big for him to go, to go back to that whole conversation. He kind of reminds me of Eli Manning a little bit, where
don't say that.
If you have the part, if a lot of humans have the part in their brain where the moment gets too big for them, those synapses just don't fire. There's just a short circuit there, and so Eli Manning was able to basically shut his brain off in that department and come up with these big throws out of nowhere on the in the biggest moments after not necessarily being a perfect quarterback through the season. And then I feel like Drake Maye could be a similar kind of player where it's not going to be perfect. You've even said, turnover a game, he's prone to stuff like that. But I never thought his turnovers were because the moment was too big. It was almost like the moment was too small for him. It's like he's trying to do too much. He's trying to play hero ball, that sort of thing. So we might get some of that with Drake Maye. But if he can keep that to a minimum, if he can hold on to the ball, no fumbles, I give him a chance to move the ball, and especially if they can effectively run the ball and clear up some space for the passing game. And I'm sure we're going to get to Steph Diggs. I like his chances of being productive and getting open in this game. But if they can protect Drake Maye, which we can also talk about the pass protection if you want, if he gets time to throw, I think guys are going to get open. I think he's going to have chances to move the ball, and it's going to come down to him playing, matching Josh Allen, at least in the department of playing a clean, efficient game. That's what I'm hoping to see. And if he can do that, they'll be competitive in the game.
I want to talk about all of that. Let's start with the run game though, because I said, Drake Maye is going to need to make plays for them in this game. But the other fascinating element to me, the Bills are the best pass defense in the league. And there's a number of different reasons for that. They're running a ton of disguise stuff. But part of it is they are forcing teams into obvious passing situations when it's easier to defend the pass. The average third down to go distance for the Bills this year through 4 games is 7.8 yards defensively. So if you're in 3rd and 8 on average, those are obvious passing situations, and you're going to have an advantage as a defense. So it's all about, and this is something McDaniel's offense is predicated on. It's all about not getting to 3rd and 8. Converting third downs in this game doesn't mean necessarily outright being good on 3rd down. It's getting into 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, because you're effective on 1st and 2nd down. And the way to do that might be running the ball. The Bills are the 30th ranked run defense in terms of yard per carry against this year. So the Patriots have not run the ball well. Traditional runs between the tackles, they're averaging just over 3 yards a carry, which is not good. The overall numbers, 3.9, which is okay, not terrible. But that's kind of buoyed by a lot of these Drake Maye scrambles, and that can't be the entirety of the run game. So you kind of have a stoppable force versus a movable object in this one in terms of the Patriots run game versus the Bills run defense. Something's got to give, or something has to not give, I guess. And the Patriots are going to need to jumpstart their run game eventually. I almost feel like we're in the bizarro world. Oh, the Patriots, yeah, they throw the ball fine, but man, if only they could run it, right? When's the last time anybody said that about a Patriots team? and look, it hasn't burned them too bad yet. And I know they have 2 losses, but I don't think not running the football is inherently the main reason. This could be the week it does. And this is also a great opportunity for them to kind of establish something and build some momentum on the ground. So Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson, Antonio Gibson, specifically, those traditional designed runs, you can mix in some gadget stuff, but that's only going to get you so far. I think it's paramount that the Patriots have a representable run game this week. They don't have to run for 7 yards a carry, but a representable traditional run game this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Miami game was probably the best we've seen the run game look.
Yeah.
But I think that was a vulnerable, relatively light defense
Yeah,
that
they blow.
they could
Just
just
say it. They blow.
they blow. They just ran it right down their asses.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that they're necessarily going to be able to do that against the Bills. Their defensive front is deep, talented, and
Well, the important note for the Bills, I'll just sorry to cut you off, just to throw this in because I wanted to remember to get this in there. They haven't had either Ed Oliver or Matt Milano, defensive tackle and linebacker, to start the season. Both of those guys have been practicing this week. They are limited, but it's a step forward for them. They should help that out at least a little bit if they play.
Yeah. So, if they can get through that first line, it's just that their linebackers and safeties, the second level has been an issue for them defending the run. And so if they could get through the tackles, like I think they could maybe make guys miss, especially a guy like Stevenson, if he can hold on to the ball, obviously. He's been able to make like that first guy miss at the point of attack. He's been able to do that a lot when given the opportunity. And so I'm looking for him to hopefully accomplish things like that. It's obviously a little different if Matt Milano's back in there, like you said. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, like even with or without Ed Oliver, that defensive front, I mean, whether it's run, pass, like they're deep, talented. They're different types of players. They all mix together really well. They move guys around, and so it's going to be a big challenge for not just the O-line, just blocking guys up, period, but to keep track of everything and to set the right protections and to set the right blocking schemes and to to combat everything that they're going to be throwing at them in terms of their different alignments. And so that's going to be a real challenge for the line. And, I guess Garrett Bradbury, if you want to put some of that on the center, but some of that's going to be on Josh McDaniels to get the guys prepared. And then Drake Maye is going to have to be able to see some of that stuff. And, he's going to have to be on the same page with the receivers, which I think he has been. But it's just like the line in front of him, I think, is going to have the real challenge. But, if they can get to some gap runs and, find the right openings and the guy can just hit that point of attack and make one guy miss, like I think they have a chance to break off big plays, even if it's right up the middle or right between the tackles. It's really just getting to that second level, and I think they'll be able to make some plays.
When they throw the ball, you mentioned Stephon Diggs. It's his first time back in Buffalo. Houston did play the Bills last year, but that was in Houston. I think and he kind of talked about this week, there's a different level of emotion that comes with going back to that building, that city, that place. He's coming off a big game. Loved the way they used him last week, moving him around more. I'm featuring him heavily on McDaniels. I know the McDaniels offense is predicated on spreading the ball out. Everybody gets touches. There's usually a guy, though, that, kind of becomes the go-to guy. I'm trying to work Diggs into that role because I think you're going to get the best version of him in this game.
Yeah, I think you run this type of offense, you run enough pass plays where there's one guy getting, 8 to 10 targets. So, we've seen guys like Wes Welker, over the years, Julian Edelman. There's always the guy where he's not necessarily going to be breaking off big plays all the time, but you get him the volume and you line him up in different parts of the field. And so that's what I expect Stephon Diggs to be in the long term. And yeah, we got to hope that week 4 performance was just the start. Hopefully that wasn't just like, this week Stephon Diggs happened to pop because he had the right matchup. And now we're going to sort of de-emphasize him. Now we're going to redo the receiver group again. Like, no, I hope that they continue progressing in the right direction with Diggs being a high volume target and one of the focal points of the offense. And I think that's when they're at their best for a passing game. I think that's why they brought him in and paid him that money. And so I expect him to keep moving in that direction. And he's obviously going to have a little extra bubbling underneath going into this game, going up against his former team that traded him away. And he's going up against, Travis White is still there. Christian Benford. If he's in the slot, it could be their guy, Taron Johnson. Those guys have all had pretty good long careers, but I still give Steph Diggs the edge in that matchup, no matter who he's going up against, especially if they're using him in different ways and lining up in different spots, and everybody needs to know where he's at all times. And all the guys need to be prepared to cover him. Like that can put stress on the Bills defense. And so that's why I hope that the last week was just the start and Stephon Diggs is, going to make more progress this week.
Any other thoughts on the offense? I know you said you had something on the offensive line.
Yes. This is going to be a test for Will Campbell. I know Joey Bosa was on the injury report for the Bills, but he lines up on both sides of the field.
I think
AJ Epinesa. AJ, what's that?
I think it said rest. Yeah, it was just a rest day for both.
Yeah, I thought it said maintenance or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's probably going to be out there. He's off to a really good start. He lines up on both sides, so we can see Will Campbell versus Joey Bosa. AJ Epinesa, big, athletic, long-armed defensive end, pass rusher. So I think whoever's looking to be over there, it's going to be a test for Will Campbell. And I think he had a really good rebound last week against the Panthers. So, you want to talk about prime time, a left tackle going up against a, good accomplished edge rushers for the Bills. Like, that's going to be one of the top matchups to watch. And if he can, I'm not necessarily looking for a clean sheet from him, but if we can come out of that game saying, what do we usually say? If the left tackle has a good game, we're just not talking about him. Right. If we come out of this game and we're not really talking about Will Campbell, then that might be a good sign, because that means he sort of neutralized things over there, as best he can. But that's going to be something to watch.
Little bit of a different challenge for him. So last week he faced Nick Scorton, who was a top 50 pick, but is a rookie, and got him well in college, but is a rookie. And then DJ Johnson, who the Panthers cut after the game. Now he's facing a future Hall of Famer. So right. little different for Will Campbell there. On the defensive side of the ball, shame on me for oversimplifying it, but I'm going to kind of oversimplify it. We know Josh Allen is freight train, the ball in the open field. James Cook is fourth in the league in missed tackles force. He's averaging over 3.5 yards after contact per carry. In the pass game, they have 8. Their wide receivers have forced 18 missed tackles. Khalil Shakir is 8. That's second in the NFL for receivers behind only Jacoby Myers. They're a top 5 yards after catch team in the league. You have to tackle. It's if they can't tackle, if they show up, if they don't show up to tackle, the game's going to be over in the first quarter. That's the reality of this. And we can get into some of the coverage matchups and what do you do against Allen and on and on and on. None of it matters if you're not tackling, because the Bills have become more of a dink and dunk operation than they used to be. And I mean that complimentary. Like, Josh Allen is so much more patient than he was 2 or 3 years ago, and he will just pick you apart underneath. And they don't have, the Stephon Diggs deep threat or what's his name? Gabe Davis deep threat like they used to have. They have these guys that they will just kind of throw the ball to underneath that will work their way up the field with the ball in their hands. Like, they're perfectly content playing that way now. So some of it is, can you, force me to get the ball out quick and press? And obviously, but there's just going to be opportunities where guys get the ball in space. The Bills are going to create those a lot, and you have to be able to tackle them. In particular, Robert Spillane, he was signed. We all talked about his tackling machine. He struggled to start the season. He's been better. No missed tackles the last 2 weeks, but whether it's against James Cook in the run game, cleaning up on receivers that come over the middle on quick passes, potentially spying Josh Allen a little bit and running with him. They need Robert Spillane to show up the way he has the last couple of weeks. And everybody has to tackle. They will take all the hidden yards you give them and then some. You got to fly to the football and get guys down at the point of attack.
Yeah, no, it's a non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable when you get to, if you get to a guy, take the right angle, close on him, bring him down. It's non-negotiable for this defense if they want to have a chance in this game.
Yeah, and let me be clear. It's non-negotiable every week. Like, a good football team has to tackle. Missed tackles will burn them more in this game than they would the average game. There's less margin for error in this game than there is in the average game.
No, I know what you mean, Barth.
I know what you mean. I don't know if the YouTube commenters know what I mean.
Well, it's like if we were to say this as a question to one of the players or the coaches, they would say, "Well, tackling is important every week." Like, everybody, we should know. We should establish, yes, it's important to tackle. It is one of the basic tenets of football. The other team has the ball. You want to tackle the guy with the ball. Like, I get it, but it's especially important against this offense, that their talent, their quarterback, and like you said, the way they're playing. And I know I said earlier in the program that the best bet is to just make them earn every yard. So it is sketchy that that they're happy to do that, and they've been good doing that. I still think it's their best bet. You just don't want it. You don't want to get burned for those big plays. And so can they set it up in such a way where they play deep and they take away those big plays and they're able to close on the ball carrier? Like, if he can get a little short pass or a check down, are there 2-3 guys flying to the ball? Like, that is where a guy like Robert Spillane is going to be key. I wonder if Kyle Duggar could play a key role in this game, like more key than he's played before. Like, that's a guy who has historically been able to close on guys. I know closer to the line of scrimmage, but like, if he's making a short pass, if he's making a pass around the line of scrimmage, can Kyle Duggar sort of spy those guys and close on him and then make the tackles for short gains. Like, I feel like that's a guy that he's been an asset for defending this kind of passing game. I know that's one guy. But yeah,
I think last year played 100% of the snaps, made 8 tackles, missed 2.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, like, I think against this offense, you pretty much have to take away the explosive plays the best you can. And so you don't want Josh Allen burning you for 25, 30-yard chunk pass plays. And I know he's also capable of taking off and running for 25, 30 yards. But that just makes it all the more important. Like, I know that Josh Allen's not the easiest guy to bring down. You're probably going to have to gang tackle him as well. But yeah, like, the guys are going to have to be ready. They're going to have to be ready to close on the ball carrier because, like you said, they're going to get the ball in space. Josh Allen's probably going to get the ball out quickly. He's been completing a high percentage of his passes. And so I expected to make a lot of simple throws and for guys to get the ball with an opportunity to make guys miss. And just don't miss. It's as simple as that, Bart. Don't miss.
I on the Allen thing, this is a game where I wonder if they use a QB spy more than they have, and that could be Spillane, that could be Duggar, that could be Marte Mapu. I feel like after Christian Ellis gets benched 2 weeks in a row, like, how much do we see of him? And but the tough thing is, like, Gibbons is not the kind of guy that you're going to use as a spy. If anything, that's why I put Spillane maybe in that category, because he becomes more in that role and Gibbons is more the guy you're sending downhill. So that will be interesting to watch. And then how do they match it up in coverage? Because the Bills don't really have that apex wide receiver. So you got Keon Coleman on the outside. Obviously, he's one guy, but I don't know how much people are really afraid of Keon Coleman. He's not a bad player, but he's not, this isn't Justin Jefferson we're talking about. Khalil Shakir in the slot is the one that really worries me because he's killed the Patriots the last few years. Do you put Marcus Jones on him just as a typical slot corner, match speed for speed? Or do you want a better corner on him and maybe play Gonzalez in the slot? But then you're taking him off the boundary where he could be on Coleman. And then what do you do about Dalton Kincaid, who they essentially use as a big slot receiver, 6'5", 240? Do you put Carlton Davis on him? Do you put Christian Gonzalez on him? It's similar defending DK Metcalf, except he lines up in the slot a ton. We saw Ted McMillan move into the slot last week, and Gonzalez follow him at times. So I don't know. Some weeks it's a lot clearer than others. Some weeks you line it up, this guy on this guy, this guy on this guy, this guy on this guy, boom. The cat coverage thing this week, you got this cat, I got that cat. I don't know that it's as cut and dry as it is some other weeks.
It's not, yeah, for the reasons that you laid out. Like, Keon Coleman had a really good debut. But he's been sort of hit or miss so far this year. He's not one of their top 2 or 3 targets right now, is in terms of like how I would, rank the overall weapons for Josh Allen. So, like, do you waste Chris Gonzalez essentially on Keon Coleman? Like, I know you could probably take Keon Coleman out of the game. But then what do you do with the rest of them? And I was actually going to ask you, Barth, what you thought about maybe putting one of those corners on Kincaid, because Kincaid is, especially in the red zone, like, he's been a good red zone guy for Josh Allen. And, like, yeah, he does play like a big slot receiver, and he's a guy that's worthy of, I think, putting a cornerback on him. And so I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. I would like to see a cornerback on the tight ends on this team. And, Khalil Shakir, I know he's dangerous in terms of what you were talking about getting the ball in space and taking those
the new Isaiah McKenzie.
And just, like, methodically marching your way down the field. Shakir's a big part of that. I'd try Marcus Jones. He's having a good year. He hasn't been exactly a liability as a cover corner. And so I know that's a tough matchup for him, but I feel like that might be your best bet, especially if you're taking one of your top outside corners and putting him on Kincaid. Like, I feel like just that's the best course of action with what the Patriots have to work with. So it is a pick your poison type of situation with this team, right? But I think especially the closer they get to the end zone, Kincaid is the guy that I really want to take out of that passing game. And so that's where I would consider putting the corners on him.
So there's definitely situations where I would. It's probably Carlton Davis. The one thing you have to be aware of is when he lines up in line, if it's a tweener situation and then they run and they put Carlton Davis at the point of attack in the run. That's where it gets a little tricky in the red zone. But, like, third downs, third and longs, I'd probably put a corner on Kincaid. He's one of these tight ends that's really just a big slot receiver.
Yeah, like the key situation
in the offense. Right, exactly.
Third down, red zone, like the key passing situations, like get your best defensive backs on that guy.
And then obviously they got to stop the run as well. Not great that Milton Williams didn't practice on Thursday, went from limited on Wednesday, didn't practice on Thursday. a lot changes. Just to be blunt, if you don't have Milton Williams, you could argue he's been their best player through 4 games, and that's kind of what you hope when you sign a guy to that kind of contract. But they still have Barmore, and Barmore can still be impactful. But when you create a pick your poison situation for the offense where they can't go all out to stop both guys, because by definition now it's not all out, you're splitting resources, right? It takes some, there's some decisions they'd otherwise have to make they now don't have to make, which makes life easier on them. So it would be a blow to lose Milton Williams in this game, plain and simple. I think it hurts him in the run game. I think it hurts him in the pass game. He's been a much better run defender than I was expecting. Credit him for that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know what he can do as a pass rusher. Could be a big, I know Khyiris Tonga's been good, and I think you'd probably see some more Khyiris Tonga, which isn't the worst thing in the world. The other thing I would do if I'm the Patriots, if Milton Williams can't go, start playing Keon White inside again. They really haven't done that. I get why they haven't. There's a ton of talent in there, and you're not necessarily going to sit the guys that are playing super well. But if Milton Williams can't go, yeah, I'd put Keon White in the interior again and see if he can do anything from that spot.
I agree with you completely. I didn't even think of that, but I instantly agree with you on.
Let me call it against the pass, against the run. It's Tonga. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, I agree. If they don't have Milton Williams, which would obviously be a huge blow, I would just park Keon White in those spots, use him in those situations. He's a guy that was speaking of tweeners, like a tweener inside outside type of player.
Yep.
Coming into the league, and so I think they can use him in those situations if they have to. Hopefully they do not, because Milton Williams has been excellent this year. He's arguably been their best overall player, not just their best defensive player. And so that goes back to what I was saying. One of your best bets, if you wanted, let alone a negative play, if you just want to stop the Bills from getting positive, a lot of positive yardage. Your best bet is a guy like Milton Williams beating the guy with his first step and just immediately getting right in Josh Allen's face, and Josh Allen doesn't even have the time to escape the pocket and try to break off one of his typical circus big plays after he escapes the pocket. Your best bet was to have a guy like Milton Williams getting in there, instant penetration into the backfield there. It goes without saying how big of a loss that would be. That is, I wasn't even that came out late that he wasn't even at practice today. So I was just, I was going into this thinking he was going to be okay. So hopefully that's not a sign of backwards momentum there. Hopefully, maybe if he's back at practice on Friday, that would certainly bode well for him being in the game. But if they don't have Milton Williams, I think you got to try something like Keon White on the inside. And I know Khyiris Tonga's had a good start to the year, but I think that goes back to what you're saying, where you got Milton Williams and Christian Barmore right. And Tonga's next to one of them. That opens up space for Tonga, and so it would just be that much harder without Milton Williams out there.
Sometimes you have these guys. This is nothing against Khyiris Tonga, but sometimes you have these guys that they're exceeding expectations because they're put just in a really good role that allows them to do that. It's a little bit of a house of cards. It's all right, this is working. And, Khyiris Tonga has been really good as part of the reason he's so good, because he's next to Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, because he's not playing a ton. So, a guy that maybe had played 25 to 30 snaps in the game in the past, playing a little less. So he's got a little more juice for each snap, and maybe that goes down. Christian Ellis is kind of a similar case. I was very high on Christian Ellis last year. I thought he had a great year. And obviously he hasn't done that this year. But I think last year, he was in a primarily third down covering running backs role. He wasn't covering a ton of tight ends. It was a smaller role that really played to his skill set. He was good at it. Pete, somebody asked me in the Patriots mailbag this week, which you can check out on 985thesportshub.com. Why is Christian Ellis worse? I don't think he's been a worse player. I think he's now on the field more and being exposed to more. And some of that stuff that he's being exposed to that he wasn't exposed to last year changes the picture of it, right? And it exposes some more weaknesses. So that's why, I don't think the answer is just jack up Tonga's usage a ton, to your point. But I'd like to see Keon White mix in. Anything else on the defense?
Jalen Hawkins has been on the injury report this week, and now I'm looking at it, and so I guess he was back today.
He's back today, yeah.
Still limited, but hamstring, we know how those can be.
To your point, maybe we see more Kyle Duggar.
Maybe we see more Kyle Duggar. Craig Woodson already leads the team in defensive snaps, I believe, which is a surprising development. But I think he's been, a kind of a find for them at safety. So he'd probably have to play more deep safety. That's just deep safety snaps to replace. And I'm not necessarily saying they're really going to miss Jalen Hawkins all that much, because he hasn't had a good start to the year. But it goes to say, like, maybe they're better without him. Maybe they try something different and it actually clicks and it works better without Hawkins out there. Like, I don't know. That's going to be something to watch if they don't have Hawkins, who is playing deep, especially if they are going to try to take away the deep plays. So that's just going to be another thing to watch on the defense, health-wise and just personnel-wise.
One more note on this game for me. And let me start off this way, because I wrote this column yesterday, and I remember thinking as I'm writing it, like, this is going to get so misinterpreted, and it's going to come off really dumb. The penalties. First and foremost, there are penalties the Patriots are committing that are avoidable. Line up on sides. Like, very simple stuff. Line up on sides. They've had a couple of those. They had a bad delay game earlier this year. Like, there's just some stuff that they can do better regardless of the situation around them, regardless of their environment. I also think that there's an element of players are told at the beginning of the week, like part of the, early meetings is, hey, this is our referee crew this week. And it's not necessarily as simple as they throw a lot of flags or they don't. Hey, they call holding a little tighter than normal. They call pass interference a little looser than normal. They call this a little tighter. They call this, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of know what you can get away with. And then in the game, assuming it's a consistent crew, which shouldn't be too much to ask for. Sometimes it is, but okay, that got called a hold. Now I know where the line is with this crew. Oh, I'm getting away with a little more than I thought. Like, let's take advantage of that. So there is an element, certainly significant element, that the team can control. But I went and did some research this week because I was curious about something. The crews the Patriots have had for their first 4 games, in terms of where they rank in flags thrown per game, 2 of them are tied for first. Alex Moore and Ron Torbert's crews have thrown more flags than any in the NFL this year. They had the Patriots weeks 1 and 2. Bill Vinovich, who was last week, ranks 4th. Clete Blakeman ranks 10th. Now, you may say, well, of course they've thrown a lot of flags. Doing these Patriots games, Patriots are very heavily flagged. It's early in the season. It's not a large sample size. But Patriots have had, this is not penalties. This is total flags. It includes declined penalties. Patriots have had 39 flags thrown on them this year total. So just under 10 a game. Their opponents have also had 39 flags thrown against them this year, even. The Patriots have had more flags in 2 games, less flags in 2 games. So you look at that, and if you're going to say the Patriots have a major penalty problem, you have to say, well, their opponents have a major penalty problem. Well, let's see how their opponents have done in games not officiated by the crews they've had. The Raiders and Dolphins have the 9th fewest flags against them this year. The Panthers have the 8th fewest. And the Steelers, who got flagged 8 times against the Patriots, have just 20 flags against them all year. That is the lowest number in the NFL. So there is this kind of element of the Patriots keep getting these flag-happy crews. Now, again, there are adjustments they can make to it, but get ready for another frustrating flag game because they have Sean Hockley this week, who's thrown the 5th most flags in football. So everybody's talked about the reason I give this rant is not to excuse any of the Patriots penalties. It's more so to say to everybody who said they need to cut down on the penalties, I agree. I don't think this is the week it's going to happen. The other concerning trend with Hockley, 6 flags per game on the home team, 9 flags per game on the away team.
Yeah, hopefully there's enough oxygen in the building when Sean Hockley takes the field to call the first penalty. But I'm not going to go ahead and say, well, actually the Patriots don't have a penalty problem because just the nature of some of these penalties, the pre-snap stuff, the procedural stuff, like some of it.
Let me be clear. Sorry. Let me be clear. They do have a penalty problem. This is not me saying that they don't, but it's just me saying you are going to run into officials that like to throw the flag more than others. I don't think they've done a good job adjusting to that as much as maybe some other teams have.
I mean, and how much do they even want to adjust? Like, I feel like Mike Vrabel comes out of these games and just shrugging off the penalties. Like, I think he just wants his team to be aggressive and he's willing to take a few penalties to get to that point. Like, I think even the pre-snap stuff, like, I think he wants his guys to be able to blow off the line of scrimmage. And if you occasionally jump offside, that's okay. But like, I really need you to stay onside most of the time. And as long as you're being aggressive and we're letting loose, then we're going to make some plays. And so I feel like that's been kind of his mentality when it comes to the penalties. But this game, especially Barth, like, I feel like they do have to tighten it up a little bit. You can't afford to wipe out a big game because of a holding penalty. You can't afford to, get a false start or an offside on, give them an easy first down, or if you're on offense, turn a 3rd and 5 into a 3rd and 10. Like you really can't have stuff like that in this game against the Bills on the road if you want to have a chance to win the game. And so I would find it hard to believe that the Patriots could, win this game, obviously, but like be like reasonably competitive in this game if they're getting another 8, 9, 10 penalties. Like I feel like they sort of have to tighten it up as much as they can. But it is a fair point that you make with the data showing that like these refs just love to throw the flags on both teams in all these games, and so that is interesting. So it'll be interesting to see if that sort of continues to hold true, if both teams just get a lot of penalties. But I think the Patriots, especially this game, this opponent, this situation, you really got to tighten it up, and you got to avoid even just the smaller penalties turning a manageable situation into a really challenging one. Like that's what they really got to avoid.
In particular, where to watch. You mentioned this is going to be a tough game for the offensive line, probably toughest task they've faced, both in terms of the opponents on the other side and the environment. Drake Maye said this week they may have to go to the silent count. Of the Patriots, 39 flags against, 10 have been for offensive holding. So a quarter have been for offensive holding. 7 have been for false starts. No other flag is more than 3. So
I feel like a lot of the holds have been on non-linemen. Like that's actually a lot of receiver holds, running back holds. Am I wrong on that?
I don't have the breakdown. I just have offensive holding. But you're right. I think you're right. It's not just the offense. Like Travion Henderson has a couple.
I feel like that's been part of it.
False starts, but either the offensive operation, 9 holds, 7 false starts, or 10 holds. One of them was declined, however you want to count that. 9 or 10 holds and 7 false starts and 35 penalties, 39 flags.
Solid numbers.
It's got to come down. Yeah. So that'll be something to watch for. We will have more leading up to the game, of course, on 985thesportshub.com. You can catch me Sunday morning as well with Cerrone Battle on 98.5 Sports Hub Sunday kickoff. I'll also be on 4 to 5:30. There's like a weird middle shift in there, so I'm going back in, pulling a little double duty this Sunday. So we'll talk then as well. Matt and I, of course, will have our recaps up on 98.5thesportshub.com, and then another recap podcast coming your way Monday afternoon, evening-ish. We're kind of playing with time a little bit to see when you guys find it the best. So if you have any thoughts on that, when do you want it released? Let me know. Although I assume you'll all say as soon as possible. So that'll do it for us on this week's Patriots Hub Podcast. For more, check out the Sports Hub YouTube page and the Patriots Hub Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. For Matt Dolloff, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.